Well, it's election day here in Colorado and many other places around the country. You see the drop-off ballot box behind us here. We're in Arapahoe County in Colorado, in the city of Englewood. This is one of the many places where voters have been dropping off ballots all day long. They have until 7 p.m. this evening, local time, to hand in their ballots before they are finally counted later on this evening. I
am terribly afraid that former President Trump will be reelected, and that scares the daylights out of me. So I feel this is an extremely important election.
I feel like so much is riding on it, just in terms of domestic policies as well as foreign policy and everything going on in Israel and Palestine right now. So just so much has landed kind of on these leaders that we're picking in November.
This, of course, is Super Tuesday. This is a day when 15 U.S. states, as well as American Samoa, will be sending voters to the polls. The largest chunk of delegates that will be awarded to both the Democratic and Republican presidential contenders in the entire election cycle. More than 1/3 of all delegates will be awarded to the likely presumptive nominees, both President Biden as well as a Republican presidential contender, former President Donald Trump. So Super Tuesday for the last several decades has been a very significant day politically, perhaps a little less so this year since there is probably very little suspense about who the final nominees will be, although certainly Nikki Haley on the Republican side is still challenging former President Trump for the nomination there, although her chances of winning the nomination are seen as pretty slim at this point.
I think a lot of people are disengaged at this point. I think most people figure they know who the two candidates are going to be, so the primary is not. The election in November is super important. The election today is maybe not so important.
Not as pivotal.
Yeah. I think it's pretty clear who's going to come out on top today.
Now, Colorado, of course, has been in the spotlight for the past couple of months, politically speaking. Colorado, at one point, was threatening to remove former President Donald Trump from the election ballot. Back in December, the Colorado Supreme Court ruled that Trump should be off the ballot because of his role in the alleged insurrection of the U.S. Capitol back in January of 2021. Just Monday, yesterday, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Trump could not be removed from the ballot, so his name is on the ballot here, although that was going to be the case regardless since ballots went out back on February 12th. So Trump running on the Republican side, Biden on the Democratic side, along with some other candidates, and of course voters will be choosing candidates for lots of other local offices that are much more minor in nature, at least compared to the presidential race. Interestingly, back in 2020, President Biden finished second in the Colorado primary to Bernie Sanders. President Trump, of course, went on to win the nomination back in 2020 before losing that election in November. The results here, we don't expect to see any major surprises, but it'll be interesting to see how voters in exit polls talk about the issues that are driving them this election cycle, what they think of President Biden's performance in office, the comparisons with former President Trump, and I think a lot of people are going to be taking a lot of information away from that, even if the final results are pretty much known at this point. Hendrik Sabrandi, CGTN, Englewood, Colorado.